Okay, so what was the discovery that changed my life? Well, even as a child, I was a little bit of a sort of science freak. I used to take record players to pieces and rebuild them, and put speakers around the house and do radio channels and that sort of thing. So, I guess to an extent, I'm a sort of a born researcher, and always fascinated and intrigued by things that I don't understand. So, I always make a point of researching them and finding out how they work. And I guess I got to a point with my anxiety and panic attacks and OCD where, I realised that it was completely inappropriate to feel that way, and that therefore there must be a solution, because I knew that I didn't feel like that before when I was born, for example. I mean, I'd always had low-lying anxiety that was just there under the surface, boiling away. And I can remember that when I was as young as 6 or 7. But, prior to that, I wasn't born with an anxiety disorder, and nobody ever is. So my point is that I decided that we all as humans have it in us to become anxious, but I also realised there were a lot of people out there that had anxiety and overcome it. So I decided to speak to some of these people, and being a born researcher, I decided to write down my findings. And over time, I spoke to people in the community and further afield through my website and through email. And asked them questions, specific questions, leading questions, to find out what they had been doing at the time of their recovery. And incredibly, a picture started to emerge, and I started to realise that actually every single one of those people had done the same thing. Okay, it wasn't necessarily the same experience, but the process they went through was the same. So I decided to make a note of these and put these into practice myself, implementing them as closely as I could to how those people had done it. And surprisingly, very quickly I started to feel better, more positive, less anxious. I just couldn't believe it. And then as time went on, this snowballed, and I started to discover more and more about how these people had behaved and what they'd done and the processes and techniques they'd used. And eventually I ended up with a list of these processes. So I decided then I was going to sift through them and filter out the ones that didn't work and keep the ones that did, and add some of the supportive elements, the things that really helped, like massage and reflexology and things like that, things that helped you relax and minimise your anxiety and supported the recovery process. So those are also included in the Linden method. But more importantly, the process itself that I condensed down into the 9 pillars, which are the 9 cornerstones to the Linden method, and the recovery process that happens as a response to doing the Linden method. It was incredible. I handed this out to people, and as time went by, people started emailing me and saying, I just can't believe it, I feel so much better. And in the last 10 years, what we've done is distilled and improved that process until we've got to a point where now it's a definitive solution, a definitive cure. And as long as you do the Linden method correctly and stick to the 9 pillars, it works every time. There's not a case when it doesn't. Why? Because it is the solution to anxiety disorders. It's the solution that reverses the formation of the things that you did to get anxiety disorder in the first place. And I know that sounds incredible, but it's absolutely true. And it works every time. So if you want to discover how to completely eliminate and recover from your anxiety disorder, all you need to do is continue reading this page. And I'll put a few more bits of video in to explain how I came about this solution. 108,000 people have used the Linden method, and honestly, if they comply, it works. And that's why I gave a money-back guarantee. It's that simple.